If I give you a certain amount of reps and you can do 5 or 10 more, that means that there's not enough resistance. How to push yourself enough to get results, but not too much where you get hurt. If you're trying to squeeze out another 2-3 reps and there's a few of these components missing, like if you don't do this one, then you're more likely to get injured into your personal life and in your next workout, is just being able to conquer anything that you choose to take on. I wholeheartedly believe that having a fit and healthy body is the foundation to living an incredible life. All right, a little interruption before we get into today's episode. So I run these shows ad-free. We will never take on sponsors because everything is self-funded through our Fit Vegan coaching program. So if you enjoy these shows, the best way to support is obviously to subscribe to the channel. But also, if you know anyone over the age of 50 that is looking to improve their body composition, combat sarcopenia, combat osteoporosis, get healthier on a whole food, plant-based lifestyle, to simply send them our way at fitvegancoaching.com, because we are the best in the world in helping people over 50 transform. We have over 1,000 transformation in 20 different countries. So simply send them our way. In addition to that, a percentage of our profit monthly goes towards supporting cancer patients with their treatments and bills and whatever they may need to support themselves and their family. So you're also supporting additional people outside of the work that we'd be doing in the program. That is all I have for you today. So enjoy the episode. All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Fit Vegan Podcast. As you can read by the title, we're going to get into it today. So no bullshit advice on how to become fit over 50, right? I choose bullshit over BS because I really wanted to hit hard for you guys to understand that we're going to dive into the nitty gritty secrets of the things that you actually need to do. So again, the reason I'm mentioning over 50 is because we're also going to talk about, combating sarcopenia, so the decrease in lean muscle tissue as we get older, osteoporosis, so the weakening of the bones as we get older. And also there's some new studies showing that, getting fitter and strength training, there's a lot of benefits against fighting against dementia and obviously reducing risk of cancer, heart disease, diabetes, and all these other health conditions that tend to happen primarily as we're getting older, which unfortunately more people are starting to deal with at a younger age. But we're going to put the focus over 50 because that's typically who we work with inside of our Fit Vegan coaching program. And I really want to drive home the point of the importance of strength training and resistance training. And don't worry, I'm going to provide you a ton of great resources that's going to allow you to get started today if you want to start seeing some of those benefits. Now, nutrition is obviously going to be important. Obviously, the podcast is called Fit Vegan. We prioritize a whole food, plant-based lifestyle because of its benefit in terms of reducing inflammation, in terms of alkalinity in the food. So there's a lot of great benefits to eating whole food, plant-based, which I've done several hundreds of podcasts on that conversation. But in today's podcast, we're going to be talking more specifically about strength training / resistance training. So to me, they're basically the same thing, which is you want to put resistance against gravity. You want to put tension on the muscle. So whether you are curling a dumbbell, a kettlebell, a barbell, a resistance band, your child, a grocery bag with books in it, whatever, as long as there's resistance against gravity and you're putting tension on the muscle, to me, that is resistance training. To me, that is strength training. Basically demanding something of your body that wouldn't necessarily happen in your day-to-day life on a constant basis. So strength training has been shown over and over again to help with all the previous conditions that I've shared, right? Obviously, combating sarcopenia kind of makes sense, right? You're going to be stimulating the muscle for muscle growth. You're going to combat the decrease of lean muscle tissue. Strength training, when you're putting that resistance on the muscle, you're also putting weight and tension on the bone, which is going to help you build stronger bones. So it's really good for combating osteopenia and osteoporosis. And then again, in terms of cancer prevention, heart disease, in terms of fighting dementia, there's been studies show that strength training can have tremendous effects in the prevention and in helping to manage some of the symptoms in those areas and helping to improve ultimately. So I basically want to share how to do it safely and effectively with a proper structure, which I'm going to be able to provide you inside of this podcast episode. The reason being is because when you're working with a 20, 30, 40-year-old, which we used to do many, many years ago when I started Fit Vegan coaching, they don't really necessarily have a fear of strength training. They've kind of been in it. And they're also at that stage where they still feel like they're invincible and that they can't really get hurt, or that if they do, they'll recover fast. What we've noticed when we start working with people over 50 and 60 and 70, I think our oldest member is 86. is there's a fear of getting injured as they start to take on strength training and resistance training, which again, totally understandable. Specifically, if you don't have a history of doing that type of exercise, it can be scary to go grab a weight that you're uncertain if you can lift and do multiple repetitions of it and potentially, tweak your back or your neck or, hurt your shoulder, hurt your elbow or knees or whatever it may be. Because we understand that as we get older, recovery can take a little bit longer than when you are 20 years old. And so I want to ensure that I share the most important factors for you to be able to train safely and effectively in this podcast. So I just want to emphasize on this. When I say strength training and resistance training, I'm not saying that you have to work out the way that I do. I'm not saying that you have to work out like the people that you see on TikTok, on Instagram, and on YouTube. For you, and what we like to do with our members is meet you where you're at. So if for you, doing 10 squats before every meal that you eat is your starting point, then that's beautiful. You're going to get more benefits out of doing 10 squats before every meal than you do from not doing the 10 squats. For some of you, it might be strength training 3 times a week for 10 minutes. Again, it might seem like little, which it is, but again, those 3 sessions of 10 minutes will put tension on the muscle and force it to change slowly. And that's much better than not doing those 3 sessions of 10 minutes. So I don't want any of you to feel overwhelmed by this process of taking on strength training of like, oh my God, I got to do this for 1 hour, 3 times, 5 times, or 6 times a week. You need to start with wherever you can right now, because some of you have very different schedule. We work with people in their 50s that are still working. We work with a lot of people that are retired, and some people that are retired have a lot of free time. And some people that are retired don't have a lot of free time because maybe they're being a caregiver to their parent and they're helping a lot in the community. And so they have a full stack schedule, which I've noticing from working with a lot of people in their retirement is that they're busier than when they were working. So again, that's a conversation for another time. But what I'm trying to say is you want to start with whatever you can manage. What we found through our members and through transforming thousands of people and through a lot of studies is you need to have at least 3 sessions of stress on the muscle to actually demand change of it. So that could be a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or a Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. You can see that I'm kind of leaving a day of break in between, but at the minimum, you would want to do 3 sessions. Again, even if it's 10 minutes, just starting out with some full body exercising, like some push-ups on the countertop, some squats on a chair, some crunches or a plank on the ground. That's going to give you more benefits than not doing anything, okay? So again, 3 sessions of 10 minutes, 3 sessions of 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 50 minutes, 60 minutes, depending on what your goal is, what your current fitness level is, what your current physical limitations are, we want to start there. But I want you to understand that you doing 10 squats in a week is better than not doing 10 squats in a week. So keep that in mind. The goal is progress over perfection. And just remember that consistency compounds is something we tell all of our members. Okay, so the point number 1 that I want to bring up, if you want to exercise safely and effectively, which again, I will share with you how to get a workout program and how to build that for yourself to make sure that you get some results. But point number 1 is you want to make sure that you warm up. And how it was explained to me many, many years ago when I did my personal training certification is you want to imagine that your body is like a frozen elastic band, right? So if you grab an elastic band, you were to put it in the freezer or freeze dry it. I'm not too sure if it would work in the freezer, but if you were to freeze that band and then you would go to just pull on it abruptly, it would break. That's the equivalent of your body being, again, sleeping for 8 hours and then getting up and just going to do some squats with some heavy weights, or sitting in a chair all day because you're at work or you're sitting on your couch and then getting up and just starting to exercise right away. You're more likely to pull something, right? Not so you're going to break a tendon or a ligament, but you're more likely to pull a muscle or tweak something. So what we want is an elastic band that has been properly warmed up. So in its natural state is very elastic. So that's what happens when you warm up. There's also another thing that happens when you warm up. Again, it could be on the elliptical, it could be on the Stairmaster, it could be by doing bodyweight exercises, it could be by doing animal flows, is that your joints start to secrete something called synovial fluid, which is basically like pumping WD-40 into your joints. So you're lubricating the joints to make sure that it moves smoothly. So in terms of warm up, you don't want it to be something that is extremely intense. Again, we're not talking about sprinting on a treadmill. We're talking about a little jog on a treadmill. We're talking about having a decent pace on the elliptical or on the stationary bike or during your animal flows. You just want to get your heart rate up a little bit. You want to start sweating, but you don't want to be out of breath and completely exhausted at the end of your warm up for two reasons. One of them is if you are exhausted and you are burnt out, that means you went too fast, too quick, and you're more likely to injure yourself. Like I said, we want to kind of warm up the body slowly, get the joints, give the joints a chance to secrete the synovial fluid to kind of lubricate everything to make sure you're moving smoothly. And second, well, you'll have less in the tank to push during your strength training session if you've exhausted yourself at the beginning. All right. So again, our warm up could be 10 minutes on the bike, 10 minutes on a treadmill, 10 minutes on the elliptical. If you want to, like when it's really cold outside, I'll put a sweater on just to kind of start sweating a little bit faster, but you don't want to have your heart rate be extremely high on it. Again, we're not looking to sprint. Another thing that I like to do is called dynamic warm up. So there's dynamic stretching and then there's static stretching. So dynamic stretching would be stretching with movement. So you think about doing like arm swings, right? Forward, backward, inward, outward. Think about doing leg swings, right? Front to side or side to side. Think of doing animal flows when you're doing the orangutan, the inchworm, the frog, which are kind of warm-ups that we have for our members in the program, and depending on their fitness level. But it's basically stretching through movement. And then static stretching is the typical you bending down and touching your toes and holding that stretch. We don't want to do that at the beginning because, again, we want to warm up the body, want to lubricate those joints. We want to tell the body, like, hey, we're about to exercise. So make sure that you warm up before, because if you don't, that is what's going to make you more likely to get injured. You're going to lack mobility in your movements as well. So you're more likely to get injured as well. Like I say, you're doing a squat and you're supposed to go down to 90 degrees, but you didn't properly warm up your glutes and your hamstrings, so they're not firing properly. So when you're squatting down, you're more potentially leaning forward more. And if your hips aren't loosened up enough, you won't be able to go as low enough. And that means you're going to lean forward to trying to go as low as possible to compensate. And all the tension is going to lower in your lower back, and then you pull your lower back. Very common injury for people that don't have hip flexibility and are not warming up properly. So I can't emphasize enough the importance of warming up. Again, I'm about to be 32 in a month or so. I warm up for, again, I have more time because a lot of my life is structured around fitness. But if I'm in a crunch, I'll warm up for 10, 15 minutes before. But because I'm training for specific goals in basketball, I'm warming up for 20, 30 minutes before I start my training sessions, just to make sure that I'm loose enough with all the volume of training that I'm doing. So at a minimum, 10 minutes to warm up. On the high end, if you have time, like 20, 30 minutes. The more warmed up you are, the better you're going to feel during your training session. All right. Now, the second component to make sure you're exercising safely and effectively is to ensure that you have the right form when you're doing the exercise. And we're going to talk about intensity and how to keep the right form through intensity in the next point. But the second point here is to ensure that you have the right form and you're doing the right movement. Because, like I always like to tell our members in a lot of the workout videos that I record with our members that are on my YouTube channel, the body will always find a path of least resistance. That's why when you think of yourself doing a squat, or you look at yourself do a squat, or you look at a stranger do a squat, a lot of the time when they go all the way at the bottom of a squat and they go to come up, their knees kind of buckle inside. Their knees kind of go on the inside, and then they manage to kind of get their body right back up at the top end of their squat. Because the body will find a way to get the job done. When you have for example, a weight on your back, even if it's 10 pounds or 200 pounds on your back, your brain thinks in terms of survival. It's like, hey, I have this rock on my back that is about to crush me and I need to get up. It does not care how it gets the job done. It will find a path of least resistance to get the job done, to preserve its energy and to survive. And so when you're going to the gym, always see it that way, is you're putting your body in a situation of survival training. You put a weight on your back, your body doesn't know like, hey, we're about to do squats and we're training our glutes and our hamstring. And for those of you that don't know what those muscles are, the glutes is your butt cheek and your hamstring is the muscle behind your leg. And then the quad is the muscle in front of your leg. But your body doesn't think of like, oh, we're about to train glutes and hamstring in this safe environment. It thinks like, oh, there's a rock on my back. And if I don't get it off of me, I'm going to die being crushed here. And so again, your body will get the job done to get up from it. And so it is your responsibility to ensure that you have the right form while you're doing it. So in this scenario, making sure that your feet are pointed out by slightly 15 degrees on the outside, because it'll give you better activation on your glutes and your hamstring, which are the two primary muscles that are going to be worked when you're going to be squatting. Putting an emphasis on pushing your knees on the outside, which is going to help with glute contraction as well. And then it's going to save your knees too. Making sure that you're sitting your butt down versus leaning your back forward to protect your lower back. And when you're at the top end, making sure that you're squeezing your glutes at the top end. Now, I understand that some of you may be overwhelmed just by these little cues, because you're going to be squatting and you have to think of 10 different things at the same time. So what I did is I created a guide for you guys, because I've already recorded 100+ exercise videos where I give you all of the cues on how to do every single exercise safely and effectively. Again, there's more than 100 exercises, but I've covered the most popular 100. And I covered all variations. So if you're doing with a barbell, for example, a squat, if you're doing with a barbell at the gym, or if you're at your house with a dumbbell, or if you're at your house with a resistance band. And at the minimum, I always like to tell people to have resistance band. They're 10, 20 bucks on Amazon. They'll give you enough resistance for you to get started. So I cover all three scenarios in all of the videos. So again, from a push-up to a bench press to a press with resistance band, I give you all of the cues, how to contract your core, how your shoulders should be positioned, what your hips should do, how your knees should be positioned, where you should put the tension when you're doing a hip thrust, for example. So I covered all of those. Plus, I gave you a little free workout that's 3 times per week that you can do to get started on your transformation. So I put it as a guide for you. So get the access to the workout for free. That's 3 days per week to get you started. Plus a link that will bring you to the 100 exercise video that I recorded. There's over 6 hours of educational footage on those exercise videos, which is what our Fit Vegan members have access to. And feel free to watch them. You're going to learn a lot on how to exercise. So if you want access to that guide, again, I create that absolutely for free. There's a link down below where you can access that. And I invite you to watch all of the videos and then go and do the workout and trying to implement some of the cues and the tips that I've given you in those videos inside the workout so you can notice the difference. Again, so down below, download that absolutely for free. Now, point number 3 is how to push yourself enough to get results, but not too much where you get hurt. So typically people will get injured when they're strength training because people call it ego lifting. I think in certain scenarios, it is ego lifting. People are trying to push big weights and be impressive. But I'll be honest with you, that's more in the 20, 30, 40-year-old range. What we found in the 50, 60, 70, 80 is they're trying to push themselves. But again, there's a fear of injury. So typically they don't train as hard as they could. But if they do, it's just because they're trying to push themselves to better themselves. But unfortunately, they haven't created enough awareness yet in their mind of like, oh, my form is changing and it's not becoming the right one. I should stop or go lighter at that point. So here's kind of a rule of thumb that I like to use for training. Let's just say we're doing something, again, we'll just use a squat as an example because I think it's a universal exercise that everyone has done for the most part. Let's just say a squats for 3 sets of 10 repetition. Let's just say you've watched the squat video that I added in the guide there. You remember all of the cues. You're able to squat with great form. And we start putting some weight on your back for you to do your 3 sets of 10 repetition. Let's just say you put 100 pounds on your back to do your squat. You do your first 10 repetitions with 100 pounds. It's feeling good, right? At the 10th rep, you maybe could have done 2 more. So that means that it's a good weight. On your second set, you do 10 repetition. And maybe you could have done 1 more, but that's pretty much it. You know, like on your 10th one, you're like, okay, I can do 1 more, but for sure, if I do another one after that, I'm not coming back up, right? I'm going to stay down. That means it's a good weight. On that third set, let's just say you're at, again, whatever, you're just more fatigued or whatever it may be, and you're at 8 repetition. Or let's just say, let's put it this way. On the second set, you feel good. On the third set, you're like, you know what? I'm going to go up a little 5 pounds. I'm going to go up an extra 10 pounds on that one. And then you start to do your sets. And then as you're coming up, you notice your back. You notice kind of you start to go down. You use your back a little bit more to come up. Your weight transitions to your toes, which all of these cues will make more sense once you watch the squat video, the educational squat video that I recorded. Your weight starts to get on your toes. You start to use your back more. You start to feel it more in your knees and in your lower back. You do one, you're like, I can probably squeeze out another one or two. Don't do another one or two. It's much better for you to lower the weight and keep the right form. So what I tell people is master the form by watching the videos, do the exercise, notice where the tension should be. So as an example, the weight should be on your heels. You should focus on contracting your glutes as you're on the way up and on the way down, and not using your back, making sure you're keeping your core tight, which I created a video just to teach you how to contract your core properly when you're exercising using the Valsalva maneuver. So once you're doing that, you have the tension on your glutes, you're pushing from your heels and you're coming up. As you're doing your exercise, if you notice any of those three components starting to slack, maybe go down 5 pounds, maybe go down 2.5 pounds. Just go down the smallest increment that you can and then continue to do your sets. Because if you're trying to squeeze out another 2-3 reps and there's a few of these components missing, like the core is not tight, you're pushing from your toes, but again, the tension's still on your glutes like it's supposed to, like 2 out of those 3, you're more likely to injure yourself. So I always tell people, as another tip, trying to leave 1 or 2 reps left in the tank. For the majority of you, again, if you're over 50, you're less likely to be training to be a professional athlete or to go to the Olympics. Again, maybe some of you are, but I don't feel like I have the audience listening to this that would be like, yeah, I'm going to go to the Olympics. So leave 1 or 2 reps left in your tank, meaning if you have to do 10 repetitions, you get to 10, you're like, oh, I can do another one. And maybe I can squeeze out a second one. That's pretty much it. Basically, that means leaving 2 in the tank. So at 10, you would stop, even though you could do 12. That is a good place for you to be able to push yourself. But if you get to 10 and you're like, I could have done 15, 20 repetitions, the weight is too light. Go up in weight. Go up in weight up until you get to 10 or your 12 reps or 15 reps or whatever your coach has given you, or whatever, when you're going to be doing the workout on the guide. If I give you 8 reps, 10 reps or 12 reps or 15 reps or 20 reps, if I give you a certain amount of reps and you can do 5 or 10 more, that means that there's not enough resistance. There should be enough resistance that once you get to the allocated amounts of repetition, you can maybe do 2 more. That's pretty much it, with good form at that point, right? And I think that's one of the main components. When you don't push yourself enough in the gym and you're doing weights and putting tension on the muscle that the body is used to doing, then it has no reason to change because it could already handle the stressor. The whole point of strength training and resistance training, the only way that we build more lean muscle tissue, the only way that we strengthen our bones and we get all the benefits that come in terms of dementia prevention, cancer, prevention, heart disease, and all those other things, which again, tied with good nutrition, I understand that, is if you push yourself enough. So if you have 2 reps left in the tank, that means you're pushing yourself enough in my book. Once we start to get to 1 rep left in the tank, you're flirting with the boundary of potentially getting injured. Again, no guarantee that you're going to get injured, but you're starting to flirt with that line. So use a resistance that is enough for you to only have 2 reps left after the amount of set you allocated. Now, 4th point, this is going to be a big one, because if you don't do this one, then you're more likely to get injured into your personal life and in your next workout. And that is to do a proper cool down. So a lot of people, and I'll be honest, I'm terrible at this one. I'm still working on it, even though I've been working out for, it's going to be 20 years that I'm working out now. I've been working out for longer. I started working out when I was 12 years old, right? I'm about to be 32. So about 20 years that I've been exercising, stretching post-workout, taking a time to cool down, making sure that we stretch the muscle, we get rid of the lactic acid that's produced after you're exercising, even if it's doing a run, a bike, a swim, or doing a strength training session, you want to stretch after for a minimum of 10 minutes. So an easy way to do that is, there's 2 ways depending on how much time you have. If you're short on time, stretch the muscles that you've worked. So if you've worked your chest and your shoulders and your back, then stretch your chest, shoulders, and back. Just an easy rule that you can follow is do 3 sets of 30 seconds for each muscle. So if you're stretching your chest, put your hand on the wall, stretch your chest, hold for 30 seconds, then do the other side, hold for 30 seconds. That's 1 set, do 3 sets of that, right? By stretching, what's happening is you're creating because once you tear those muscle fibers, they recover and they get tighter, right? They're recovering tighter, but bigger. And so if you keep doing that over time, you're going to build more bigger muscles, but you're going to also build tighter muscles, which means that you're going to shorten your range of motion. And shortened range of motion or lack of mobility is one of the big reasons people get injured, because they're trying to, for example, do like a push up or a press of some sort, and they're trying to go lower and their chest can't handle it and it's too tight. And then they pull something in their chest or in the front of their shoulder, in front of their delt. And so ensuring that you stretch will ensure that you have great mobility, a great range of motion in your muscles, going to reduce your risk of injury. And it's also going to reduce something called DOMS, DOMS, so delayed onset muscle soreness. So that is the soreness that you get after working out. So if you're newer to exercising or you're really challenging yourself in your workouts, you are going to get DOMS. Like I said, I've been working out for almost 20 years now. I still get DOMS. It never goes away. It is a response of the body to a higher period of stress on the muscle. So typically what happens is people will do a hard workout, and I'll just use an example of a workout that I did with Chuck Carroll when he came to LA. We did a full body workout. The next day, he texted me. He's like, "Oh, I don't feel that bad. Like, I actually feel great. I thought I'd be more sore." I was like, "Wait one more day." The next day, he was like, "Oh, wow, I have a hard time moving. This really hurts." And I was like, "Yeah, it's always 2 days after where it hits you the strongest." So if you do a hard workout, that same day, the next day, you might feel a little bit of tightness or whatever, but 2 days after the workout is when it really hits you. Now, you can still train over that. Again, I'm not a perfect example of how you guys should be working out, but I'll just give you a scenario for me. I train about 3 hours a day, roughly. So about 20 hours a week that I exercise. So that means I work out every day, and I pretty much do some form of leg exercise every day, whether it's plyometrics, sprinting, running, playing basketball, leg workouts. There's some upper body workouts in there. So I'm in a constant state of soreness, but because I stretch properly, I put a lot of emphasis on my recovery, I warm up properly, I'm able to do all my sessions for the goal that I am after, which is to be at an elite level as an athlete. But for you guys, again, if you're doing a strength training on Monday, rest, stretch, rest, recover on Tuesday, go do your workout on Wednesday, you're going to be fine. There's going to be a little bit of soreness, but I'll be honest with you, for the people that have exercised for a long time, there's a little bit of a pride in that soreness and in that tightness in the muscle, and it makes you feel like you've accomplished something. Now, you don't want to not stretch to get more tightness, because that's not going to make you feel more proud. You'll just be more sore. So you don't want to have a debilitating amount of soreness. But I promise you, once you start to be consistent with strength training, you will notice the increase in strength. There's going to be things in your day-to-day life where, I don't know, we had one of our clients, Shona, who has a really big dog, and she always had a hard time picking up the dog and putting it in the back of her car. And now she just like picks up her dog and puts it in the back of the car by herself without having to ask her husband. You'll be grabbing more groceries or grabbing your kids or playing with your grandkids, and you'll be like, "Oh my God, I can like throw the ball more. I can throw the Frisbee further. Like I can just hike and keep up with my friends. I can hike with my friends and kick their butt. They're behind me and they're out of breath." We have clients that are cycling. They're doing races and trips across different states. And at the end of the day, they're not as tired compared to everyone else. Like there's so many great benefits from strength training. And if you're someone that loves to do endurance or longer type events, like again, a really long hike or cycling or running, the secret to becoming better is strength training. Because for anyone that's ever done a race or something that's long distance, it's never your lungs that give out. It's always, my legs are dead. I can't push more. I can't go for more. That gets better by doing strength training. So not only from a performance standpoint, you get tons of great benefits. Again, from performance, I'm not talking about performing as an elite athlete. I'm just talking about going for, a 6-8 hour hike with your friends and just kicking their butt. And at the end of the day, absolutely being fine in your legs, not being as tired as they are. Like to me, that's the cool part. That's the fun part of being fit, is just being able to conquer anything that you choose to take on. And as a added thing that I'm going to share, I wholeheartedly believe that having a fit and healthy body is the foundation to living an incredible life. That's something that I found to be true for myself and a belief that I had for a very long time. If you want to be happy, if you want to be successful, if you want to enjoy life where your body is not a limitation to the things that you want to accomplish, whether it's cycling across the state or doing a big hike with your family or playing with your kids or grandkids or doing some activities with your family, you need to be fit and healthy. The highest enjoyment out of life that you will get is out of having a fit and healthy body. Because I heard this quote the other day, which was, a healthy person has tens of thousands of problems, but a sick person only has one, which is to get their health back. And so if you don't take care of it, it will become your sole and only priority, which is to get that back. And I'll be honest with you, once you get really, really sick, it is a lot harder to come back to a neutral level of health, to like a basic level of health, than it is to from where you're at now to exercise and get healthier. Like, you think working out and eating whole food plant based is hard now? Wait until you really get sick and you don't have the energy to exercise and you don't have the energy to meal prep and eat healthy food, and your stomach can't handle eating certain amounts of food or certain volume of food. It is a lot harder to recover once you get sick. So make it a priority for yourself to start strength training. And I want to make strength training cool for people over 50. We've been in business for over 5 years. For the past 3 years, we've been working with people over 50. We've helped hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of members between 50 and 86 at this point, with the body recomposition phase, with the reverse dieting, with the lean muscle building phase after, and they've seen incredible results. And so I wanted to record this podcast to share with you the 4 things that you need to focus on to start seeing the benefits that come from doing strength training. And again, if you are uncertain of where to start, there's a free guide down below. There's going to be a workout on there for you to start with that you can do from the comfort of your house. So you can get comfortable with exercising before you step into a gym, if you choose to step into a gym, or else you can just buy more equipment for your house. Because I'll be honest with you, we've had a lot of clients start our program and exercise from home at first because they weren't comfortable going in a gym. But at one point, they were too strong for the equipment they had at their house. And then it was a decision of, do you buy all the equipment to have a home gym because you're too strong for the equipment you have? Or do you just go pay, again, depending on where you're at, like 10, 20 bucks for a gym membership, right? Like, I think I pay for Ivy and I like 30 bucks a month for a gym membership. Like, you can go to a gym really cheap. You have access to more weight, more machines, more equipment, and you get to build a community there, which is why I personally like it. But eventually you'll be too strong for the equipment you have at your house. So again, there's a guide down below. There's all the exercise. I invite you to watch over 6 hours of them. Watch them on your own time. But I think you're going to get great benefits from those. So again, I hope this podcast was valuable for those of you that are just in the beginning phases or have been struggling for a while. This podcast is about strength training. Now, body recomposition is a different game, right? I titled this podcast, no bullshit advice on how to become fit over 50. So becoming fit, strength training is the part that will do that, right? Looking fit is a different conversation. Then we have to master nutrition, the proportions, the quantity, the volume, and tie it into the training that you're going to be doing. So if you want us to take care of that for you, this is what we do for a living. We're best in the world at what we do. I invite you to book your free body recomposition consultation call down below. But if you just want to start with the guide, absolutely go for it. And by downloading the guide as well, you're going to be added to our weekly newsletter that I send. I always send 3 tips on there: a tip for fitness for the week, for nutrition, for mindset. I always share a life lesson from the week to help you on your transformation, because mindset is the biggest component of having a successful transformation. I share a lot of other cool podcasts and videos, and we donate to cancer patients every month. So I always put on there the cancer patient that we supported for the month, and we have a lot of our members that come and donate additionally to it. So there's a lot of cool thing on the newsletter. So I invite you to, again, download the guide. You'll automatically be added to it, and then you get the guide and all the exercise video. So I want to say a massive thank you for taking the time to listen to this podcast. If you're watching on YouTube and you like this type of video, I invite you to subscribe so that you see more of the videos that we're going to be putting out, because soon we're going to be going out on YouTube to 3 times a week. And on the podcast, we're going to go to 2 times a week starting in June. So I'm excited for these episodes for you. Hope you have an incredible rest of your day, and I will see you on the next episode. Bye.